Hello, everybody. Welcome to Better Together. We're gonna keep working on our music. If you have some music suggestions, please send them our way.
I think it's fun.
This is better than yesterday for sure. Guys, we are here because we want to grow. We want to get better together because when you know better, you get better. It is Tuesday, August 25th, 2020. Our quote of the day: in today's world, if people don't like something, they think it shouldn't exist. That is from our guest, Erika Nardini. She is the CEO of Barstool Sports. She's had an incredible rise in the C-suite world. And we are going to be chatting with her all about running a company through COVID. The spider that's climbing down the wall right now, that's quite disturbing me.
Oh, I see him.
Yeah. And kind of the path to management success and how to kind of succeed in a very male-dominated company. I think there are a lot of lessons that we can learn from her, and I'm excited to chat with her today. And especially coming off the heels of our Tony Robbins Business Mastery class. I think it's something that's in our brain. It's so ironic that today is the day that she is coming in to chat with us. So I think we're going to get to learn a lot from her. If you haven't already, hit subscribe on that YouTube and join us every day here. If you subscribe, obviously you'll get those little notifications so you don't miss an amazing episode. And we have so many incredible guests coming up that you guys are going to love. And so please do that. Also, obviously, helps us as a show to build. And the more we build, the more we can serve. And so thank you for that. Also, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you can find us in all different platforms. So one day you might want to watch on YouTube. The other day you might want to listen on your hike. So subscribe in those other areas, depending on which ones you use. And if you could help us, we're trying to reach 1,000 reviews on Apple Podcasts. And thank you to everybody who has been commenting. They've been so beautiful and so amazing. Thank you. It really lets us know where we are and how we can best serve you guys. So thank you for that. If you haven't already, share an episode that you think will help your friends and your family. One of the things that I've really learned from Tony this week is, really figuring out who you want to reach, who your customer is, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, one of the things that I'm really focusing on is finding the people that never knew they needed this content, finding the people that never knew any of this kind of information existed, right? You kind of go through your life and the people that you're spending your time with is really what you're exposed to. So whatever they're doing, you might try. But if they're not trying these other healing modalities, if they don't have exposure to these top 1% minds in financing and investments and stuff, you're not going to know any of it. Mm-hmm. And there are little things you can do that can completely change your life. AJ Gupta, for example, in one of our episodes talked about how to pay off your mortgage 15 years earlier. And it's not with the double payment every year. That's what everybody knows, right? It's with, instead of paying your full mortgage at the first of the month, split it into 2 payments. So do one at the first of the month. If your mortgage is $1,000, $500 on the first, and then $500 on the 15th. What that does is it shaves the interest, the time that the interest has to keep compounding and building up, and therefore cuts down what you owe in your mortgage by, I think it was 10 or 15 years. Magical little things that if you know better, you can get better and you can optimize your life. So help us find those people that don't know any of these amazing tips and tricks can even exist. Yesterday's episode with Dr. Amen was unbelievable. And to know that there are 8 different things you can try that are natural to heal yourself of depression that are proven, like sniffing a lavender oil 4 times a day, or adding saffron onto your food, or making sure you're getting your vitamin D. And so I was inhaling my I was inhaling my lavender oil last night in a whole new way, guys.
Whole new world.
Because I do it every night before I go to bed, and I put it all over my pillows, and I just inhale. It smells so good. But anyhow, that's what we're here to do every day. We're here to help you guys in your journey. And I have access to the most amazing experts in the world because of what I've gotten to do over the years with the Today Show and all the shows that I've worked for. So let me bring these people to you. That's what we're doing every day. and they'll help you. The other thing that we have to offer is Patreon. Now, Patreon, obviously, actually not obviously, a lot of people don't know, is ad free, which is awesome. But also it gives us more latitude. We can, pull clips from YouTube and go over them. We kind of have like our version of a book club with like spirituality stuff. And so this Patreon this week is going to be game changing. We're going to share kind of our cliff notes from our Tony Robbins Business Mastery event, what we learned, what we're applying, how it's changed our lives, how it's helping us with you. And it was a $10,000 seminar that we are so grateful we got to be a part of. And we, like I said, learned so much. So we're going to bring that to you. So go over to Patreon. If you go into the summary of this show, you just click the link, or you can go to my Instagram. You already changed that, right?
Bio.
So if you click on the bio, it will take you right to Patreon. It's the $5 tier and up.
Yep.
And we're going to be doing a lot of really cool things in Patreon. So I'm excited to bring those amazing things to you.
Very exciting.
One of the other things that's really exciting, guys, as I look through the news, there's been a new shrew discovery. A weird elephant shrew was rediscovered after 50 years lost to science. He's really cute, so I wanted to share him with you.
Okay. I don't think you guys are ready for this.
He's so cute.
It's a video. You ready? Oh, he's
there's
so
a video
cute.
too?
It's a video. Just you wait.
Okay, good.
Oh
my God, look at his little nose. I'm obsessed. So obviously,
this is why the podcast listeners have to subscribe to the YouTube so you can see the video as well.
He's got like a long pointy nose that would be like an elephant trunk that just didn't curl.
Like, who is
and
he and where do I get one?
The rest of him looks like a mouse.
Wow. He's really everything.
He's so cute. Speaking of cute, we met the most amazing bulldog on our street yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
And Kelsey, he kept jumping all over Kelsey. He was the cutest dog in the world. And I have so much excitement, Jeff, because I have always been highly allergic to all animals. And Max was like my gift from God. It was like God was like, okay, you need protection. You need to feel safe. I'm going to give you this guy and you're not going to be allergic to him. I thought he was the exception. But after a sweaty hike with my Halle Berry leg weights yesterday,
yeah, our 1 pound.
pores wide open, I'm playing with the dog, knowing I'm feet away from my house and that I'm going to jump in a shower and hopefully all will be well. And if not, Benadryl or Claritin would save me. I played with this dog and I didn't get one hive, not one allergy. And the short-haired dogs are the worst for me. So my dream may come true and I may get one of these guys along with a couple of goats.
And I mean, honestly, even better than you not being allergic were the pictures that came out of it.
Do you have one? Can you share it?
Let me see if I can.
It's going to be too many things.
We'll get it up for you guys tomorrow. It's hilarious.
It was the cutest thing ever.
Hilarious.
I just keep texting.
Bulldogs.
I keep texting Kevin pictures, being like, "I need
She
him."
keeps sending me the same picture. I'm like, yeah, I know, I see that.
I'm surprised, Maria. Is this the longest you've been away from your pups?
I believe this might be the longest. Yeah.
How are you doing? It's hard.
It's hard. I really got a good fill in with this guy.
Yeah,
Little Winnie, after her grooming the other day with her big smile, was killing me. Max, I mean, I'm talking to them through FaceTime. They could give two shits, but I'm trying. But it was funny. I was looking at our guest today, Erika's Instagram, and she's got a dog named Tuca, of course, after an athlete. And he's like this massive shepherd-ish kind of dog. So I got to ask her what he is. But it's cool here because we were driving somewhere the other day and it was like a turkey crossing. So we had to wait for all the turkey to cross the road.
And then the straggling babies.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cute.
So we have a lot of wildlife here and it's been fun. But I miss my babies.
They miss you too. I can like see on Max when I he's in the window, but when I walk in, he's like hoping it's you and then seeing it's me, and he's obviously not as happy when it's me and not you.
Super upset.
Yeah, he gets very bratty, I guess, when I'm gone. But yeah, he's definitely. I remember last year when I was here for a month, he was crazy excited when I came home, and I was like, "Oh yay!"
He's gonna sit on you.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
do.
God.
I
He's a
love my
horse.
guy. He is a horse. But wouldn't it be great if I got an English bulldog that could handle Max?
Yeah.
Like poor
Instead of
Willie.
Willie, I know.
Willie suffers so bad in our house. Like it makes me want to find him. Well, I wouldn't find him a home. Violetta would take him, but I feel so bad for him because
know.
it started like a love affair and now he whacks him so hard. And he's got little back issues. So, but like this bulldog, oh, he could handle him. He'd be like, mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that pure muscle. Like bulldogs. I mean, Jeff. Oh my, I can't even describe.
Did you
his
see the picture we sent
face.
you?
Oh yeah, it's adorable. I love
My
it.
face. Hilarious.
Anyhow,
Hilarious.
all right, let's get to our interview with Erika. She is one of the most respected C-suite execs in digital media whose experience ranges from high-level jobs in corporate conglomerates like AOL, Yahoo and Microsoft to edgy startups and media companies like Barstool Sports as the company's first CEO, which we learned at Tony Robbins.
Woo!
Like you
Yeah.
get to look at your company and know where you're at. So they must have been at like teenager mode where
Yeah.
like shit was
Rowdy.
going great, everything was amazing, and then you need to go to young adult mode, as Tony says, by bringing in profesh peeps to take your business to the next level. So that's what they did, I'm pretty sure, if I got it all right, with Erika, because she came in and blew it up. She was named one of Fast Company's most creative people and one of the most powerful women in sports by Adweek and Forbes. She joins us today to discuss all things C-suite management and her journey to CEO, as well as standing your ground as a female exec in a man's world. Erika, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited that you are also a Connecticut resident. I know you're from New Hampshire originally, right?
Yep. So I'm from New Hampshire. I went to school in Maine. I spent a lot of time in Vermont. So New England girl for sure.
Yeah. I know the feeling. So let's talk a little bit about your journey. We just came off the heels of Tony Robbins' Business Mastery event, and we learned so much. I mean, business has its own language, and I was kind of ignorant to a lot of it. I've been, accruing it along the way, but when you've never been in that corporate environment, you don't know a lot of it. And it's been really empowering and really exciting. And yeah, like he talks about where a company is.
Okay.
And so I was like, I feel like they were probably in teenage mode at Barstool. And then they decided, okay, we've gotta bring in, a CEO that knows how to really scale this and take it to the next level. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Barstool was, Barstool from, being from Boston.
Of course.
They were beloved, but there were, 12 of them. They blogged from their apartments and their mom's basements, and there wasn't a P&L, and there wasn't really a company.
We know what a P&L is now too.
That's
Profit
good.
and loss.
We're basically geniuses now, Erika.
You really are. You are going to have a fabulous company. So they didn't know that at that point in time. So you're way ahead of where they were. But they had a huge brand, and they had a huge vision, and kind of a legendary founder in Dave Portnoy. And they wanted someone who had been places where they wanted to go, and the rest is kind of history.
So you come in and under 4 years, you like crush it. The company's valued at more than $100 million, and you guys have grown everything in there exponentially. But before this, you were at kind of more traditional companies like a Yahoo. You did AOL as well, right?
Yep.
So
I had, go ahead.
Was your path always to be in that kind of C-suite management? Did you ever think of having your own company?
I had, so Barstool's been a wild ride. We've had a crazy, exceptional, wild 4 years, almost 5 years. Prior to that, I've worked at really big companies and then really small companies. I was always kind of going back and forth between the two. I worked for Microsoft. I lived abroad. I was building a big global platform for them. And then I gave that all up, and I went to go help launch a fashion startup, which didn't make it. And then I went to Yahoo and kind of did a big thing again. And then I went to Demand Media, which is really a company that was built on the back of Google. and we IPO'd. So that was kind of a startup experience. And then I went to AOL, which is again big. And then I had a small company in music called Backstage. And then Barstool is kind of the perfect, it's like Goldilocks a little bit, which was like Barstool was the perfect fit, which was when I got to Barstool in 2016, there were, there were 12 people. So it was a startup. It still feels a lot like a startup. We have about 250 people now. But we've grown the company and we've changed and evolved a lot and really built I think, pretty interesting business. But I don't know. I always liked managing people. I always liked building things. I liked being part of a team. I was a big athlete, and I love to work. So I think that, I think there's sometimes you run across people who just want to be in management and who just want like the title and the like, I have a very important job and I don't really give a shit about that. I'm like, I just want to build something and have some fun while we do it and do something that's meaningful and do something that people like, whether it's, you have a business to business company where you service and make products for other businesses, or you have, in our case, a consumer company where you're making products for people. So it's been, I think it's been an interesting journey. I've learned a lot along the way. I think business, is it's an apprenticeship. So you kind of have to do it and learn it as you go and make mistakes along the way. And that's really what I've done.
Who do you feel like has been your best mentor along the way? And it could even be a book. It could be somebody you haven't even worked with, but where have you kind of gleaned your best advice from?
A lot of people. So I really like people and I'm very curious and I like to learn. And, what a lot of people, when they go into business, have a business degree. Like I didn't have a business degree. I was a sociology major. I was like taking the Rocks for Jocks classes. So I didn't come into business as like, I'm a business person. I was always a marketer. I wanted to market things. I wanted to tell stories. I always loved content. I had a really fantastic woman named Joanne Bradford, who was very, very senior at Microsoft. She gave me my first like really, really big break. She had a woman who worked for her named Gail Troberman. Gail Troberman gave me a shot. I kind of ran with it and I worked for Joanne for 3 companies. So she was really instrumental for me. I was fortunate in that I had a really tough woman who I reported to. She was harsh. She was, very driven. She had to compete. This was in the early 2000s. So she had to, I think women are so much more publicly empowered now than they were even then. But I learned a lot from her. I learned a lot from Microsoft. So she was really instrumental for me. I think she gave me a lot of, in the same way when you're playing sports, like in college, I felt like I had some really great coaches and then I had some not so great coaches and I learned from both. Joanne was someone who really taught me how to be sharp in business and how to be a good leader. And I'm like forever grateful for her.
What were some of those lessons?
Oh, like there's like almost, Maria, too many to count. I'll give you like one day. I remember we had a big sales pitch. We had a big pitch with a client, a customer, and it was Joanne who ran all the sales for MSN, which at the time was like one of the biggest properties on the internet, if not the biggest. And we had a sales guy and we went to a big customer pitch and it was me, Joanne, and the sales guy. And the sales guy didn't have his shit together. So he didn't have a pen, he didn't have a notebook, he didn't have the deck ready, like he didn't have, and Joanne expected it like that. Like you had to, and it's something I take with me to this day. Like if you're in the middle of a pitch and you can be pitching anything, an idea, a product, a vision, you want to raise money. If you don't have your act together, like when you get in the room, here's what we're doing, here's what I got, here's what I have for you. You're kind of dead in the water. And I remember we were in New York City and we left the meeting and it was under like a bunch of scaffolding in New York and Joanne just fired him right there. And it was the exact right thing to do. Like the guy sucked, like he wasn't ready. He like didn't have his armor on. He wasn't prepped up. He didn't do the homework, but it was also really aggressive to get fired right after the meeting. And I was like, like that's a good lesson.
Fire fast.
Wow.
Fire fast.
Yeah. What about staying sharp? What were the things that you learned about being sharp as a businesswoman?
A lot. Like, one is you have to listen. I think, being really cognizant of what's being stated in a room and not being stated in a room, and the politics and the dynamics inside a company and inside the company who you're trying to do something with is really important. I think the second thing is to be really clear on what you have to say, what you offer, and what you want to do. She and I used to always talk about, my mind would go like 100 places. I would be like, and this, and this, and this. And she would be like, only ever say 3 things.
That's kind of what I told you the other day. I was telling Kelsey the other day, I said, listen, sometimes, because I'm mentoring her.
Yeah.
I said, sometimes you're so excited. And I know I'm like this still, and I'm still honing it. I go, and you're kind of all over. I go, I need you to just have finite, quick bites of like things that you're ready to do. That's so funny.
3 things. And I've always, to this day, kept that. And now I give that to people I mentor, people I work with. A lot of people, when they start to interact with press, right? Like learning how to work with the press, learning how to work with the media is important. It's also a skill. You have to have discipline around it. But if you're trying to jam 100 thoughts into something, people don't have 100 ways to listen. They're going to pick up certain things. And if you hit 3 things and you hit them again and again and again, you're better off, your company's better off, your product's better off. So that was a very good lesson on being sharp for me.
I love that, and I'm going to apply that in press interviews as well, in a better way. I'm so glad I just kind of learned that. And I will say, after watching many, many interviews that you've done, you are like unflinching. You are so chill, and they can't get to you. And one of the things that I was wondering was, how is it, like you said, you have to grow thick skin, especially when you're working in a company like Barstool. You were the first female in the company. And by the way, I loved the whole, you didn't you didn't negotiate a bathroom for yourself. That made me
I know, so stupid.
die laughing. But how do you explain the process of growing thick skin? Because I will say, I have a thick skin for some things, but for like that kind of criticism sometimes. And right now we live in such a divisive world where, again, and we said it today as one of your quotes, if you don't like something, it shouldn't exist. And it's scary. So I'm like, and I go into my turtle shell. I'm like, no, please don't be mean.
I think it takes time, and I think it's something that you will always work on. Like, I, to this day, still have to work on it. One is, I think, in being unflinching, I think it's always important to remember like who you are. And this has been a big thing for me with Barstool, is like, who am I talking to? Am I talking to a friend? Am I talking to a partner? Am I talking to someone who has, what is the agenda of the person who I am talking to? And very often, one of the biggest learnings I've had here is that everyone has their own agenda, right? And sometimes that agenda is good for me, and sometimes that agenda is very not good for me. And who I am has to be consistent in both scenarios, but you need to be cognizant of that. And I think it's hard I think it's easy to have like a gut emotional reaction on things and to be hurt by them, or to be, especially as a woman, right? Like, I feel like we're very sensitive. I think it's very easy to blame yourself first without really thinking about the whole situation and kind of taking a step back and looking impartially at a situation. And then at some point, you just have to stop caring. Like, if you're right with yourself, you're right with the people who you're close to in real life, you have things that keep you interested and motivated, and you just have to stay the course on that. Like Twitter, for us, like Twitter is this whole like rigmarole of hate and vitriol and humor. And there's amazing things about Twitter. We live on Twitter, but you also have to remember it's not real life. And if you are judging yourself and defining yourself by what a bunch of people with 100 followers or 2 followers or 1,000 followers say on Twitter, then like, who really cares? You can't do that. That's not how you should lead your life. So I think it's a process, but I also, I think it's important to be really clear on what is it you're trying to do, like what makes you happy. Building this company makes me so happy. I love my job. And so, sure, do people hate on Barstool Sports? Do they hate on me? Like, yes, all day long. But you know what? Like, it's very easy to lob bombs at someone from the sideline and to never build anything. And I'm like, you know what? Like, you can love me, you can hate me. That's cool. Like, I'm building something really special. And I think if you can keep yourself focused, put your eyes there, not your eyes on everybody else, I think it helps you in that journey.
Great advice. I mean, if you really think about it, you can't please everybody.
No.
So if you are in that race of trying to please everyone, you're never going to win and you're only going to continue to hurt yourself. And so
Yeah.
I love that. That's great advice. And recently I got advice from Joe Ahern. He was the president of ABC for years in Chicago, discovered Oprah actually.
Okay.
And he was advising me and he's like, just ask yourself, what is their motive? It's so important. It's basically what you said. He just said it in a different way. What is their motive? And my husband always says, like, they don't pay my bills. They're not my family or my friends. Like, why am I going to care what they have to say about me? I know who I am. But it's hard to, when our goal always is to be liked, right?
Yeah.
As humans, we want everyone to like us. We want, that's one of the things that we want. It's hard to, start to make that line of, okay, where am I going to care? Where am I going to not care? But it's great advice.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's easy to be scared and to be muted or cast in other people's opinions of you or motives, right? Or agendas, whatever you want to call it. And at the end of the day, like, that's not a very fulfilling life if you have to check yourself every time you want to do something by things that are totally outside of your control. And, my dad used to say this to me all the time, which is like, the best control is no control. And I always think about that because I'm like, you know what? Like, HBO Sports wants to do a hit piece on Barstool Sports. Like, I can't control that. I can control if we participate in it. I can control what I do during that interview. I can control who I present and what we share. But you know what? Like, at the end of the day, like, I don't control them and I shouldn't want to. I should really let that go and focus on the things that I can have impact on and that are positive and that actually and truly mean something. And so, I think that's what we really try to hold true and hold dear.
I think that was like a free therapy session for everybody.
I know, no kidding.
I'm going to write everything. You're going to write everything she just said down. I'm putting it on my mirror. I'm going to read it every day until it becomes solid.
I love
Stick
that.
it to Tony Robbins.
I love it. Well, I also, going back to what we were talking about earlier, you took this kind of corporate approach to your career, but I never got clarity. Was there ever a point where you were like, I'm gonna go build my own company? I mean, in a sense, Barstool kind of is your own company. You did build it, but have you ever just wanted to do your own thing?
Now I would. I don't think I had Maria. Like, I don't think I had the courage to do it at the beginning of my career. That's why I always loved Dave Portnoy, right? Like, Dave Portnoy was, I don't know, 24, 25. Gave up everything to create Barstool Sports, like everything, like no money, no job, like just himself. Like, and I always truly loved that about him because when I was 24 and 25, like, I was in the job that like everybody thought I should be in. Do you know what I mean? And I was more, I don't know if it's a gender thing or a person thing. I early in my career, I really felt that I had to follow a way more predictable path. And, thankfully along the way, I met people who were like, jump, go learn, go build something else. I was always like a really good number two. I was always a really good number two. And now I'm more interested in like, okay, I have the confidence, I have the experience, I know I can do it. Um, I've proven to myself and to others what I can accomplish. Like, would I go create other things? And like, maybe in the future I will. Right now, I'm very happy where we are here, but I think it was hard for me not to have the security of like, okay, I'm working, I have a paycheck, I can pay my bills, I can take care of my debt. I didn't have the like balls to the wall, like, screw it, I'm going to throw everything up and create something on my own. I ended up in a place where we're building something and kind of like have that screw it, let's build it attitude. And I'm most happy here. So in some part wish that I had done it earlier, but I also kind of think everything happens for a reason. And this was the time and the place and the group of people that I was supposed to do that with. But, my advice to people is like, if you have a big idea and you want to go start something, build a media company, create a product, create a clothing line, like whatever it may be, like just do it, just start. And the worst thing that can happen is it totally bombs and you fail, and then okay, you go back to doing what you were doing before, you find something new. So
But first, take Tony Robbins' business mastery class. So you know what you're doing.
Good pitch.
Well, I mean, he talks about like less than 5% of businesses last or survived. I think it was a 10-year mark.
4%.
4%.
Yeah.
And so when you start to learn all the principles behind it, you realize, oh my gosh, so many people enter a business having absolutely no clue, thinking that passion and enthusiasm is going to do it. And that might get you somewhere, but it's not going to keep you there. And so it was fascinating. But with you, what's amazing is you can't learn some of the things that you've learned without going through the journey you went on. And like I said, you did end up in a place where you did kind of build your own thing. I mean, you took a $10 million company and you made it a $100 million company plus. And so I think, now if you were to jump out and do something, you'll have a completely different confidence behind you. And so, everybody's journey is their journey. But I wonder with, a lot of college grads right now who are scared and, the workforce is what it is right now. What advice do you have for them if they want to pursue kind of more your path? You just kind of gave advice if they had an idea and they want to be an entrepreneur, just go for it. I actually agree. I think this is the moment because if you fail, no one's going to blame you.
Yeah, 100%. There's so many things you can blame it on. It's funny. Like, I'll give you an example. I went to Colby College, which is a school in Maine, NESCAC school. And during the quarantine, there were these two, I think they were lacrosse players from Colby, who were seeing that there was a surplus of lobsters. The lobster fishermen in Maine had so many lobsters, they couldn't sell their lobsters because restaurants weren't open and no one was buying lobsters. So they rented a refrigerated truck and started to drive to New York City, to Boston, to New York City, to Philly, to the Hamptons, to Nantucket. Well, probably not to Nantucket actually, because they seem to have a lot of lobster. And they started a Maine lobster delivery company. It like went off. They bought a refrigerated truck. Like, they made a business for themselves that was just completely opportunistic that you couldn't have anticipated before the pandemic. And I think that was great. Like, look, their spring semester was like kind of blown to pieces. They were like, we have time on our hands. We see a local problem. We're going to try to solve it. And then it got bigger and bigger, and they got enough money and they could invest in the business and they could brand it. But for the first 2 months, they were texting like Colby College alumni to be like, hey, does anybody want any lobsters? Like, this is how you get a lobster. So I think that now for college kids in particular is a really good time to start. If you have an idea, you can do something with it. I think there's going to be people who just get lazy because everything's on Zoom. You can kind of mail it in. Nobody's pushing you. You don't have to stand. You don't have to get dressed. You don't have to show up. You don't have to go to class. And I think there will be the majority of people will get just lazy and not tired, but just mail it in. And then I think there are people who are going to do something. I also think, we see this a lot at Barstool, is like kind of speaking more to my path is, look, there's all these companies right now. There's people with time and people with job needs. And so what I always say to college kids is like, if you want to get into business, just start doing something. Like, volunteer your time, start a podcast if you're interested in content, offer to intern with a commerce group, a sales group, a product group, whatever it may be, to get the apprenticeship, to get the experience. Like, and it's those people, when the economy does come back, or when people start hiring, or people go back to work, I think it's those people who deserve the job more than anyone else. Get involved at your campus. Like, what's the new campus newspaper? What's the new, like, what is it? I'm a media person, kind of on the different side of the table than you, but like, I always think in media, but there are all sorts of jobs, like you're interested in healthcare. Okay, great. We're in a global pandemic. I'm sure there is a hospital, a testing organization, blah, 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 that you could get involved in. And I think it's just that initiative to put your money where your mouth is and really show up and start to do things. And those people will be the people who get ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you identify a need. And right now there are so many needs.
So many needs. Like if you look at like tutoring, right? You look like there's so much uncertainty around education right now. Mm-hmm. So, if you have a skill, how can you make education better? And that sets you up for whatever your career may be. Same with healthcare. Same with the food industry, the restaurant industry. Like, that industry is being decimated. Is there a way? But delivery seems to be, like the great white hope for the restaurant business. Okay, can you create a bar delivery business? I don't know, but like, if you have a good idea, you might as well try it and see if it works. And then either you can get a job with someone, or you could create your own business from that.
Yeah. How has it been managing people through COVID? I imagine a lot of people wanted, my husband calls it a snow day.
Yeah.
You guys didn't shut down.
No.
So how do you manage people who, because I know you said even you're working harder than ever. You've had to abandon your kind of wellness and health and all of that and working harder than ever. How did you manage people through that? And
so I think the funny thing about the pandemics, it's kind of had like a lot of phases. Like what we needed to do in March is pretty different than what we need to do now, if that makes sense. Like in the beginning, we needed to settle everyone. We needed to get situated in a new environment. Like, hey, everybody's going to be working from home. You've got to make your content. You've got to do your job from where you live. And the need at that point, what I really felt from a managing people perspective was just connectedness. Like you feel connected. There's a security to it. There's like, this is what we're working on doing, right? Like get situated. And then I think the next phase in kind of managing people was, okay, we have to do business differently, right? The ad business, which propels most media companies and podcasts, was getting pretty decimated. The big, multi-year deals with big lucrative partners, like those guys were all cutting spending because there's so much uncertainty about consumer spending. So it was like, okay, we need to shift who we talk to, what we offer them, how we price things. Our salespeople had to figure out, like, how are you going to make a Zoom pitch compelling? So the next phase was really adaptation in terms of like, okay, where are we? We still need to hit revenue numbers. We still need to drive the business. We still need to make great content. How are we adapting our production structure? How are we adapting our show formats? How are we adapting our business model? And I would really say since then, it's like, how do we I spend a lot of time thinking about how we accelerate. Like my personal belief is that everyone, kind of to your husband's example, like people actually think this is a snow day. Like people are like, oh, I've been off for 4 months. They think it's a snow day, or they're scared. And fear makes people small and retreat. And my thing is like, all right, great. If everybody else is retreating, like I'm going to triple down and go 3 times as fast, because daylight's burning and I can make up ground that no one else can. Like we just, we just signed Deion Sanders, right? Which was like, we're so excited about Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is electric. I think half the reason we got Deion Sanders is because we got on a plane and no one else would get on a plane. And I was like, you know what? Like I'll mask up, I'll suit up, I'll do the hazmat thing. Like, I don't care.
Wait, we did that too.
Yeah.
Did you get a lot of bad looks?
Got a lot of bad looks.
Oh,
yeah.
Like,
so bad.
Like, nobody wants to see you after you've been on a plane. I'm fine with that. I'm good. But, I think there's something right now where people can just get dull very quickly. And I don't mean personality dull, but I think that kind of comes with it too, is that when you stop being sharp and putting yourself out there and doing things, it's like when you stop running, you know what I mean? Like when you stop exercising and you try to go exercise again, you're like, oh God, it's like,
hard.
I just got slow and heavy and like, I just lost my edge. And I think the same thing is true in business. And you gotta find a way, if you really wanna win, you've gotta find a way to keep your edge. If you like a snow day and you wanna be comfortable and invisible, like now is an awesome time. But if you want to do something, then you got to push out of the bubble and get out of the comfort to do it.
Did you have a hard time motivating employees to not want the snow day?
I think it varies by people. There are people to this day who still treat it like a snow day, like where I'm like, and what we did was we started managing productivity. So I look at like every phone call a business person makes, every deal we strike, every piece of content that we drop, every social post we make. So we have a lot of transparency in terms of, who's working and who's not. And what you find in any company, it's always the same people. Like your best people are the people that are like, I'm going, I'm up, I'm doing my thing, I'm doing my thing, I'm doing my thing. And then it's kind of the same people who are like, sorry, I got distracted, or excuse this or excuse that. So we're still trying to figure out how to motivate people. And, the people who are going to be with us long term and long run are the people who are motivated.
Yeah. Yeah. They were talking about it in the business mastery class. It's like the A players, they don't need motivating. They wanted that A+ in their report card. Yeah. They don't make excuses. They're not constantly apologizing for mistakes because they're not making them. They're just like, we want to win. And I think that is a distinguishment in this time period. It's hard. Like at first you were lucky if you kept your job. Mm-hmm. And then at some point you looked at everybody around you and they were like, wait, they're making more money staying home. Why am I working? And so there's a lot of emotions attached to all of this for everybody. And then the fear exhausts people. So, you can't take away from the fact that people are afraid and it has weighed heavy on them and they're tired, and we are working harder and maybe more now than we were before. But at the end of the day, you have to think, well, where do I want to be? Right. And do I want to be a winner? Like, do I want to win right now? And so it's a tough choice.
And some days you don't always feel like you want to win. Like I have a lot of energy. I'm like, I need to be doing something all the time. So for me, I'm like, there's no choice but to do something. And like, I had to manufacture for myself things to do so I wouldn't get bored. But for some people it's different. There's a lot of emotion that's happening. You look at our offices in New York City. Most people who work for Barstool Sports live in New York City. New York City's tough right now. Like it's not a happy party time in New York. It's lonely. If you live alone, you feel constrained. There's a lot of anxiety. Like all that stuff is very, very natural. And very, very prevalent right now. A lot of people had to go home. They were like, hey, I'm living with my parents. Like, on one hand, that can be awesome. On the other hand, like that can totally suck. Like, so there's just a lot at play. And I think people who have a plan and who are like, this is what I'm going to focus on. It's kind of back to the three things. Like, here's what I'm going to get done today. Here's what I'm going to get done this week or this month. Those are the people who seem to be thriving. In addition to the, kind of your A players or the motivators who are just like, I'm doing something regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. So what has your kind of health and wellness approach been before COVID and after? Because when you are a type A overachiever like you are, there comes a point in everybody's life where you realize, oh shit, stuff's going wrong. I need to start taking care of myself. And for me, it was my brain tumor. For other people, hopefully it will never be a brain tumor, but that's
a little dramatic.
Yeah, that's where this was born, because it was like, wait a second, I need to make some changes in my life, and I need to go on this journey and deep dive into how to get better. And so I wonder what you were like before in that area, and then where you're at now, even if it's not applied yet, where you might want to go.
Okay, so I will work myself to the bone. Like that's I hate that about myself, but if I'm given the choice of doing something for someone else or working versus exercising or sleeping enough or taking a break, I will always choose the other thing. And that is, I can get depleted. And I was noticing that, we did Penn National, put a massive investment in Barstool Sports. We closed that deal in February. I did nothing but that deal for probably 7 to 8 months, like killed myself on that. So I was walking into COVID pretty tired, to be honest with you, and kind of run down. Like I was just beat. And actually, in that regard, COVID for me has been like an awesome experience because it gave me back, I wasn't commuting every day. And being on a Zoom call so much made me kind of itchy. Like it just was like, I can't be on a video all day. So I started to run. So I started to run every day, made a run club. I was like, you just have to run 2 miles. Like, and at first it like sucked. Running 2 miles sucked.
Yeah, I read that you weren't a runner, but you started this anyway.
I wasn't. I was a runner in college, and then I just always had the excuse of like, oh, I was a big athlete in college, so I'm just tired of working out. And I basically didn't work out for 20 years after college. And then I started during coronavirus, and now I play hockey. I play hockey, and I run mostly.
Wait, are you playing ice hockey?
Yes, I'm learning how to play ice hockey.
Okay. Hockey was my favorite sport growing up.
Such a great sport.
And I was-ish. I got the male team coach at Medford High School to accept me to play on the men's team. They were number 1 in the state, by the way, because he would see me play floor hockey with them. And I was like Cam Neely. I was hat trick queen. Yeah. And so I lived for it, but then my mom wouldn't let me.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah.
I would recommend picking it up before my age.
Those hip checks. Oh, it's probably no checking, right?
Yeah. But I love it so much. So anyways, I think that like, in terms of my like health and wellness, like I think there's always stress. Like anyone who's really motivated to do something and to put themselves out there is going to have stress. And competing priorities. But the thing that's been good for me over the last, I would say 4 to 5 months is I've just put more of an emphasis on my physical fitness. And I just kind of force myself to do it, where I'm like, if I have to get up at 6 a.m. and bang out a run, like, let's get up at 6 a.m. bang. I know it's so brutal, but now it's like in my head. So,
okay, so it's hard at first. And then it gets easier. Mm-hmm. And then are you still in that, okay, now I'm in a rhythm and it's pretty easy?
No, now I'm like a psycho. So now I'm like, maybe I'll run the Boston Marathon. I'm a loser. So, but it's kind of funny. Like I kind of see 2 extremes. I think people during this time have either like let it all go and they're like eating chips on the couch, or people are like crazy, crazy, crazy fit. I also think that people are, like for me, I never ate at home. I never slept at home. I was always on the road. Like I was always on a plane. I was always traveling. And so I think the adjustments I think the good thing that's happened in this time is that people are more, the way I describe it is you're more acutely aware of your circumstance because you are forced to be in your circumstance.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that's changed. So I'm like, all right, well, let's make my circumstance better. Because you're not distracted by, I used to be out like 3 or 4 nights a week. I would be on the road, two nights a week, at least 2 or 3 weeks a month. And now I'm more stationary, and I don't like to be stationary. So I'm like, all right, how do I create that same level of excitement, and how do I do it in a way that's healthy?
Yeah. It's funny when you talk about that stationary thing, because it really is finally collectively we're all being more present. So even I'm noticing different foods that are affecting me that I never would have noticed before. And so it's great if you can look at it like that and take advantage of the moments that we have, because we don't know. This could be our new normal forever. This could be our new normal till next summer. But these are the moments. There's so many good things to take out of this time to get better. So
yeah, I think it's like all what you make of it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, there's really shitty things that are happening right now in the country, in society, around the pandemic. And then there's also some really good things happening. And I think the thing that I always think about is like, what's inside of you? Like, are you making the most of what you have and what you have to offer? And if you are, and not every day is going to be great, not every month is going to be great, not everything is going to be great, but then you can at least feel like, hey, I'm making the most of what what I have. And that to me is like, that's really all you can ever ask for.
yeah. How old are your kids, by the way?
I have a 9-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Got it. So have you made your decision on homeschooling versus going back to school?
No, we're going back.
You're going back.
I love it.
Oh, yeah, we're going back.
Oh, you're like, get them out of here.
Out of here. I'm like, I'm just not going to be afraid of a virus. I'm just not. Like, we'll take whatever precautions. Obviously, I want to be sure things are safe. But I think we need to get back. I don't think that being at home is good all the time is good for everybody. I think socially it's very tough. I think if you're a kid, it creates a lot of anxiety. I think kids have so much anxiety now versus when I was a kid or we were kids. Like, just, you used to worry about if someone else was having a party and you didn't get invited to a party. Now you're worried about everybody on Instagram, which is like hundreds of kids or thousands of kids versus like 5 kids. So I think getting back into a routine, getting back with other people. I think people should be with people, obviously in a way that's safe and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, I'm back to work. I'm like, we're back.
It's so fascinating to hear everybody's different opinions on all of this. It's
totally, and it's all over the place.
Yeah. I wanted to know, and I think I know the answer. I think it's hockey, but what's your favorite sport?
Oh, okay. Hockey for sure.
Okay.
Hockey.
You're from New Hampshire, of course. It's got to be hockey.
I know. There's nothing else to do. I love football though. If I had to choose, like football and hockey. And you're a football, yeah?
I am. Well, so I grew up hockey. I still have all my newspapers from the '92 series, Boston Bruins versus Edmonton Oilers. Then when they went on strike, I was in college. So I'm, I think, 2 years younger than you. We're pretty much the same age. So you'll remember when hockey went on strike. Yeah. And that's when I met my husband. And he was like, football and basketball. Now, I played basketball terribly then, much better now. And he was like getting me into football and basketball and watching it. And I hated watching it. And so at first, I finally got into it. And it was, I remember the final season that I remember watching before they got good. It was like, you know, the Celtics were in last place. And
for a while.
And I was like, yeah, but we got really good players. And I was like, we're going to be fine. We're going to do this. And then the Patriots make it to the Super Bowl against the Rams, and I'm working for Channel 1 News, which was a high school-based news program. And it was right after 9/11, and I go to the first Super Bowl the Patriots were at, or that they won. And they win, and I sneak onto the field with 9/11 security. And my boss had said, if you get on the field, get a stand-up. I had a tape. And so I had to beg somebody during a big, massive victory to take their tape out, put mine in. I'm like, I'll get it in one take. Cameraman did it. I got the take. And then I'm like celebrating. And Kevin's like,
oh, that's awesome.
He's like, of course. You become a fan, and then all of a sudden they win the first time. He's like, we've suffered for years. And then the Celtics, of course, have a turnaround. And then through our relationship, the Red Sox have a turnaround, and the Bruins have a turnaround. I'm like, I was the lucky.
You're like, I'm the charm.
It was so funny. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
die hard fan. But yeah, now hockey definitely lost me because football and basketball became my biggest kind of fandom things, and my husband and I got to enjoy it together, and he wasn't a hockey fan growing up.
So it kind of naturally went that way.
Yeah, he stole me. But I do love playing, and I still love watching. I'm, I jump in when they're, in the playoffs and stuff. But football and
good.
What?
They're looking good.
I know. Celtics too.
Yeah, very good. 76ers. Let's go. See you later.
I mean, it's so exciting. I am psychotic about my sports. So do you have like rituals and stuff?
Yes. So I don't, it's so funny. I don't like to watch football with other people. I'll watch hockey with other people. So I can I don't like to watch football with other people, especially Sunday night football.
Really?
So I'll crawl up to my bed and lie in bed and watch it by myself.
Is it because you want to analyze?
No, I don't know. It's I don't know what it is. Crazy thing. I don't I find that if I'm around a lot of other women, they're not two things I don't like. I don't like going to a corporate booth because then all the business people just want to talk, and nobody watches the game. It drives me nuts. And then I feel rude when I just want to watch the game.
Yep.
And then I find if I'm around a lot of women, they don't really give a shit about the game either. And then it becomes I'm half in a conversation and half watching the game.
Yes.
So I'm I just rather watch it by myself.
I really enjoy when Kevin and I get to watch it just alone, and I can analyze, because I am so crazy that I want to feel the energy of the game.
Yeah.
And I'm playing it. So I'm sweating watching it with them because I feel like I'm in it. And then I'll always have the take that my husband is just blown away by, because I'm like, oh no, he's got this. And he's like, why? And I'm like, look at that little thing in his shoulders, or look at this, because I feel it. And I had a conversation with Larry, actually, and my husband's still jealous about this. So I always get invited by the Celtics to sit at their table at the NBA awards. Okay. And last year Larry was there, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to talk to Larry. So I go over, I tap Larry on the shoulder, which is pretty ballsy too. Yeah, and he turns around, I'm like, Larry, I've watched all your YouTube videos. I've seen every moment. I've seen you tell them, oh, don't worry, I'm going to inbound the ball. They're going to pass to me. I'm going to shoot it from here. I'm going to score. This is exactly my play. And he does it. He's not faking them out. I'm like, I've watched everything. I said, I feel like there's something that takes over your body when you are so connected energetically. I'm like, I feel like once you click into that thing, into that gear or whatever, you don't even know what you're doing. It's just, you could do anything. You could fly 50 feet into the air, somersault, glide, and everything just happens. There's just an energy that comes from the ground through your body, and then you are God. And he goes, yeah. And I had the same conversation with Sugar Ray, because I'm like, I just watch you guys, and when they're so great at what they do, I feel like there's another greatness that comes in they don't even know they have.
I agree I think that's the thing with great athletes in general. I play hockey with this professional women's player who something, Maria, just happens to her. She doesn't think. It's not she's not, almost not conscious.
Yes.
Her body becomes Gumby, and then she just flies and scores, and and I think it's the same thing. It's you're exactly right. You like click into the mode and then it's like super mode.
Yeah. It's like when you watch the Jordan doc, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're obsessed with all the 30 for 30s. The Jordan doc
Yeah.
was everything. It's the same thing with him. He was just so laser focused, and then that kind of like, it's so funny. I don't know. It's sports is the greatest
Oh, I miss
reality
it.
show in the world.
Greatest.
And it must be really special as a fan of sports to be able to do that for a living.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, we kind of work in sports and we kind of work in the internet and entertainment, but I think that sports is, you're exactly right. Like you never know what's going to happen. Nothing is a given.
Mm-hmm.
And the stories that come from sports and the characters that come out of sports and like the rivalry, and I think it's just like I hope to be around sports like my entire life, because I just think it's so fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I like whenever something's happening, I'm like, it's the Tom Brady. Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's
totally.
go. And
Totally.
then
We
it's
have the
like,
same thing. If something bad happens, we're like, we're on to Cincinnati. Like we are, and everyone's like, what does that mean? And I'm like,
What does that mean?
I know everything in our life is a sports quote,
completely.
or a sports analogy or
Yeah.
something, because like my husband would always call me Shaq. He's like, you're like Shaq-a-doodle. He's like, I need you to be Garnett. Like, I need you to have that focus and that psychotic drive and jump down and do your knuckle push-ups after they beat you down. And I'm like, but so I think this is who I am. He's like, no more Shaq-a-doodle.
I totally get that.
So it's fun. Anyhow, this was such a fun conversation, and I love getting in your head about, you know, your journey, and this is just the beginning. You're so friggin' young. Like, it's so crazy to think of where you can go from here. And so thanks for taking the time. I know I'm going to be doing your show soon, I hear.
You are. You're coming on my show.
Yes.
I'm going to try to convince you to buy a women's hockey team with me.
In a second.
I know. I think it'd be fun. You'd actually
In
agree.
a second.
They need
but-
to reimagine like content around it too, and I think you would be perfect for that. So I'm going to put you on that.
First of all, I just want there to be checking, because I need to get in there and play.
100%.
I need to do something with these hips because
Oh
they're a
my
lot
gosh.
bigger in COVID right now. I got on a scale the other day. I'm like 10 pounds. And I'm like, how? I'm eating from the garden. I'm so healthy. And then I go, maybe it was all the chips and salsa.
Yeah, we had a little come to Jesus moment. We were like, oh
A
man.
lot of
And
chips
it
and
was a
salsa. But yeah,
joke.
I'm obsessed. And I think that would be so much fun. And also, I'm inviting myself to your town. I'm not going to say where you live out loud on the show, but
Come right down.
I'm coming
I'll
down
show you.
to explore.
Yes, do it. I'll make sure we get connected.
Perfect. All right, cool. Well, Erika, thank you so much. We will be in touch. We're going to do a field trip to another
Field
part of the
trip.
state.
All right.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Oh, wait. One last question.
Oh,
What is Tuca? A shepherd mix?
he's a Leon burger.
A what?
Huh?
Called a Leon burger. He's great. He's 6 months old, probably like
What?
120-ish. He's going to be a beast. But
It's a dog, by the way, everybody. I saw her dog on Instagram, and I'm like, holy moly, he's massive and adorable, but he's a baby?
He's a baby. But the thing with the Leon burgers, they're like a brown body, and then their face looks like they just dunked it in a like jar of paint. So they're very cute.
Oh, okay, cool. I get to meet him. Yes! I've been away from my dogs for like 6 weeks, maybe 7 weeks now. So I'm like,
It's like dog crazy. I get you to come out. You can have mine.
okay, perfect. All right.
right,
Thank you
bye,
so
guys.
much. Bye.
Bye.
So fun. I would have never guessed. I've never heard of a Leon burger.
Yeah, you said
Leon
it first.
burger?
I don't know.
Leon, what was it?
What
Jeff?
was it, Jeff?
I actually just looked it up. It is a Leon burger, and they're
Okay.
German dogs, so
Wait,
they must
Oh,
be.
I love.
When I said burger the second time, I thought of the actual burger, and I'm like, I don't think it was burger. I think this is me dreaming of a burger right
I
now.
want to meet him. Maria's like, I'm hungry.
Oh,
I want to
man.
meet him. Wow, that was awesome.
That was so fun. She's amazing.
She is.
She's great.
All right. Well, guys, if you haven't heard her podcast, it's called Token CEO. It features some of the most interesting female leaders in business. I'll be joining in a couple of weeks to announce our hockey team.
Yes.
Of course, you can find her on Instagram EKA Nardini, and on Twitter, Erika Nardini, or you can follow Barstool Sports, of course. We'll put all of that in the link in the summary. Tomorrow, we are featuring stress expert Kelly McGonigal, whose TED Talk on the upside of stress has over 20 million views. Her book on the same topic was a bestseller, so we are very excited to have Kelly on the show. I wonder if she's going to tell us to do this.
Yeah, right.
I was teaching Kevin last night in bed Dr. Amon's techniques.
I taught Laura some havening last night too.
Right?
I talked to my mom. Okay,
So
you guys.
I just wonder, like, if a lion is coming to attack me, if it really will shut down the fear center of my brain. Should we test this out?
Dr.
Let's
Amon.
test it.
Yeah.
Yes, have a lion come attack me, and
Yes,
I
lion.
will shut off my fear. He will still eat me, but I won't be afraid when he eats me. Oh man. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Again, as always, please subscribe, leave us a comment, let us know how we're doing, share it with your friends, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. In the meantime, follow us at Jeffrey Crane Graham, at Kelsmeyer22.
Two.
A two?
Hey now. It's okay.
At Maria Menounos. And remember, be nice people, make good choices, and be present.